Okay, so Simon, could you tell us a little bit about your business and your background and how you got to where you are?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So, yeah, I've been an entrepreneur for the past 15 years and started a new business in the last year, uh, building on the experiences that I've made in all the years before. I had an event space, an event agency doing events for companies, and I was always very much focused on marketing and email communication with this business. So after I sold this business in 2016, I started focusing more on email. And over the past year, we started a new company specializing on email marketing, tying into LinkedIn, lead gen, but with a strong focus on leveraging email as an asset, as a tool that you can own and control. And at the moment, we are specializing on consultants, mostly business consultants, and we've developed a framework that leverages email and ties it to LinkedIn, generating leads for these coaches.
Okay, that's great, thank you. So what made you decide to employ a virtual personal assistant, and what were the key points that confirmed your decision to actually move forward with this process?
Can this be a current answer now in the face of COVID-19 or?
Yeah, perfect.
No, no. So what made me employ a virtual assistant?
Yes.
Um, well, initially, I think it looked like an economic solution, affordable solution to find some help with my new agency.
Mhm.
And I just happened to know the founder of A Virtual, so I started talking with Richard, and then I realized as I looked into the profiles that were sent to me that these are really interesting people. Plus, it is very easy to find highly qualified people. Whenever I did look for freelancers or people who could help me in my business, I would go to Upwork and had to browse through profiles and filter for people and set all these criteria. And then I still had to vet the people that would get back to me. And I found that working with an agency that has virtual assistants, much of this screening process taken away. So I just get a limited number of profiles of people that I know are good or are qualified for what I'm looking for. And I think the difference with Upwork or working with an agency is to be able to just verbalize what I need and then getting something that matches these needs. And that is very convenient. Remote working, I mean, I've always worked remotely for most of my life, and that was just a natural thing. And I think it's becoming more and more popular now with the whole Corona thing, and more people begin to realize that it's actually pretty cool because, first of all, you have a much bigger pool of people you can choose from globally. So that's why what I found very attractive about it. In this context with South Africa, I think it's good because in South Africa you have a lot of people that think like Europeans. I've worked with assistants from India and from Philippines, and there is sort of a cultural gap. And there's always sort of in the back of my head, I have to think, do they really understand what I'm saying in terms of like, is it culturally clear or do I have to be more specific? And working with people from South Africa is much easier because it's sort of, I know they get what I'm saying and there's not like this guessing of, is it really clear? So I found this to be very interesting with A Virtual.
Okay, great, thank you. What are the most helpful things that your assistant does for you?
Yeah, it's changed over time. I think in the beginning I came with a very clear idea of I wanted these things to get done. And as we were working together for a while, I understood better what her interests are and her qualifications and what she's really good at and things that she doesn't really enjoy that much, even if she does them, but sort of she prefers other things. so we've come to a point where it's more a certain level of accountability and also ideas, brainstorming, exchanging.
Mhm.
And whenever some things come out of this brainstorming accountability, then she can execute these things.
Okay.
But I've created a routine where we get on a call every day for at least half an hour, and I find that this me preparing for this call creates accountability
Mhm.
and consistency. So that has become the main thing for me with this virtual assistant.
Great, great. Okay, so that's really helpful. You essentially bounce ideas off each other. Is that what you're saying um, with your business
Yeah,
in that way?
yeah. So at a certain, so since she knows what a strategy is and where we're going and what the goals are,
Okay.
it's easier for me to, if I have a great idea, and I have a lot of great ideas, but very often they're not really executable or not really within what we originally set out to do. If I bounce these ideas, very often I get in sort of a feedback like, well, it's not really what we wanted to do, so maybe reconsider this idea.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of accountability with this ideas bouncing.
Okay, perfect. That's really good. Okay, and finally, what are the most useful lessons that you've learned as an entrepreneur, just in general?
What, what
If
do
you
you mean, like?
have one thing that you've learned as an entrepreneur.
Well, I was already wondering about this question before we even get on a call. It's like, what are the most useful things? Well, I started working with a business coach quite recently,
Mhm.
and he's part of a wider network of business coaches. They follow a very systematic framework of how to develop a business,
Okay.
since that is what I'm doing at the moment.
Mhm.
And I think, yeah, the most, I don't know what it's most useful thing, but definitely for me important is to have a clear plan, a framework, a methodology, and always strive to automate as many things as possible, and resist the temptation of doing something just because it needs to get done and sort of it's interesting,
Mhm.
because it's easy for me to get distracted with things that are interesting and then sort of I get my head around it, but it's not really driving the business forward. So
Mhm.
having a business coach that sort of helps me focus
Mhm.
goes along the lines of, my biggest learning is like, build systems, try to be systematic, try to not follow a gut feeling of what I like at the moment, but
Mhm.
really try to do this thing that I've defined as the most important thing, and build a system to automate as many of these things as possible.
Okay, great. That's great. Thank you.